Welcome viewers to the AAU Talks on the AAU TV. We are streaming live on the Facebook page of the Association of African Universities. I'm Felicia Kuagbedzi and I'm your host for this session. Today we are discussing an important issue which is at the very heart of everything we do here at the Association of African Universities. This has to do with the issue of quality and quality assurance. As the discussion progresses, we'll also be taking a look at the African Quality Rating Mechanism to try to understand what exactly it is and what the key issues are in there. I'm joined in the studio by Dr. Violet Makuku, who is the Quality Assurance Specialist and the Project Officer for the HAQUA Initiative here at the Association of African Universities. Welcome to the studio, Doc.
Thank you, Felicia.
Okay, we are very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Doc, we want to understand, in terms of quality, how exactly are higher education institutions on the continent faring? Are they doing so well in the issue of quality and quality assurance?
You know, it's not even.
Okay.
The ground is not even. Some institutions are highly proactive and highly receptive to change. Okay. Others are not. And we have old and new institutions. And also by the regions, we have 5 higher education regions, East, West, North, Central, like that. And so you are going to realize that some institutions have nothing. Not even a quality assurance committee, while others have got a quality culture that is well developed, which you can almost literally like touch. And this is the highest indicator that an institution is matured in terms of quality issues in higher education.
So aside the factors you raised, we are interested in knowing what is really causing the disparity. Why are some institutions doing so well and why are others still not performing?
Yeah, like what I said, that, you know, the rate at which institutions absorb and appreciate the initiatives that come to improve the quality of higher education. And also there's an issue of information dissemination. If information is coming from African Union Commission, Higher Education Department, coming from the Association of African Universities, where we are dealing with ministers, quality assurance agencies, and vice-chancellors, to what extent are they taking it back from the summits, from the conventions, from the conferences, to their nationals, to their institutions? That leaves a lot to be desired. And you would also realize that besides the dissemination issue, other people are not actively involved in what is happening. To say, is it because of lack of internet, which can connect them to the rest of the world, or the affordability and what have you, they still find themselves lagging behind.
Does leadership play a role in this?
Very much so. When I do my workshops, sometimes you ask vice-chancellors, do you know the Agenda 2063?
They have no idea.
No idea.
Can you imagine?
Do you know the Continental Education Strategy for Africa? And yet this is the one which is supposed to be driving our higher education in order for us to have the Africa we want to cover the Agenda 2063. So how do we achieve the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, when the vice-chancellors and university managers themselves are not aware of the driving documents and the driving initiatives?
This also means that there's quite a lot of sensitization needing to be carried out, right?
That's true, by everyone. Normally you say somebody will do it, and in the end nobody will do it. So everybody should be somebody who is responsible for information dissemination and sharing. I know there's one contributory factor to say when institution knows of an initiative or these documents, they don't want to share. But it's only to their disadvantage, because their children and relatives will go to that institution which they haven't shared with a poor quality education. And later on, they will come as employees
Okay.
or postgraduate students in their institutions. So there's no reason why we shouldn't share.
Okay.
It tells us a lot that we really need to share whatever information we have on our education.
Doc, we are also interested to know in typical institution, typical African institutions, which areas or which levels is the issue of quality most important?
It covers everything, every aspect of the institution, from even the grounds. To say, do we have new flowers? Are we having the lawns being maintained? To buildings,
all of that is quality.
To teaching and learning, research, university industry linkages, governance, finance, and industrial international students. How
about the curriculum? Because most often we are more interested in that. Is that also critical?
That is very key. When I tell you that we have an initiative called Tuning Africa and the Aqua Initiative, which came out of a joint partnership, political partnership of African Union Commission and the European Union Commission funded these two initiatives in order to make sure that we deal with curriculum issues. We have minimum board of knowledge. Are we reviewing our curricula? Are we incorporating the aspect of competence-based learning? All those issues.
What does that exactly entail, the competence-based learning?
It means that when we formulate the courses that make up a degree program, we should make sure that each course is addressing certain competencies. Like if we say we have a university-wide course for communication, it means we are enhancing the skills of communication, including soft skills, which the industry is yearning for in our graduates. If I talk about entrepreneurship, or if it is in architecture, I'm saying the person should also be able to have environmental consciousness and all that construction, because how can you be an architecture without knowing everything else that is surrounding it for it to be a success? How will that happen? So we profile the competencies for each program, and that is very key so that we can tick at a point. It's a checklist that we can tick to say this is covered by this course, this is not being covered, so let's design a course or incorporate a course that covers those competencies in order for us to come with a graduate that is whole and acceptable by industry.
And ready to work.
And ready to work.
With skills.
Yes. We often hear of bridging what when people go to industry. It's
and
not right.
Half-baked graduates and all of that.
And so because they are half-baked, the industry starts with bridging them to take them to the level. Maybe the equipment they were using is obsolete. All that is part of curriculum. We need to replace it and match that which is now in the industry.
All right, viewers, this is the AAU Talks on the AAU TV. Today we are discussing the issue of quality assurance, and then also the important tool called the African Quality Rating Mechanism. I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Violet Makuku, who has so far been telling us about the state of quality on the continent and what some of the things we can do to move it forward. Doc, just to take the discussion forward, we want to focus on the African Quality Rating Mechanism.
Thank you.
What exactly is the African Quality Rating Mechanism?
The African Quality Rating Mechanism is actually a process for institutional evaluation. But there's an instrument, a questionnaire, that we use to start the process, and we also use it later on to check on the institutional self-rating and the rating that experts will give them. Yes.
May we really know what informed this instrument or this process, and then which institutions are championing it?
Thank you very much. Can I start by responding to the last question?
Okay.
We thank the African Union Commission.
Okay.
You know, AAU is the implementing arm of the African Union Commission, but they helped us by designing and developing this tool.
Okay.
In 2010, they took 10 institutions and they piloted the questionnaire.
Okay.
And at that point, we had some feedback through monitoring and evaluation where those who were involved suggested that we could have experts actually visiting the institutions. So in 2017, we, under the Harmonization of African Higher Education, Quality Assurance and Accreditation Initiative, where I'm a project officer, we took 15 institutions, and surely they benefited because it was for free.
Okay.
But what we have done also, we have gained valuable knowledge from them, that there's feedback which we can use to further improve. So with these institutions, we now had experts which went to check the environment, have interviews with different groups of the university community separately, the management, the students, the secretaries, everybody separately, so that at least they could give independent opinions.
Okay. So I understand that these were done at the initial stages when you were trying to come up with a tool. Now, can you walk us through the stages of the evaluation process, if we can have an idea of what goes into the evaluation?
Thank you very much, Felicia. Before I walk you, I want to encourage our viewers to check on the links that are going to be displayed on this presentation. And so from those 3 links, one will be the questionnaire in English, the other one will be the questionnaire in French, and the other one is the link which you use to reach to AAU to express interest that you want us to come and do a voluntary institutional evaluation. Okay. And then from there, can we move on to what you have asked me?
Yes, the question again was for you to walk us through the stages of the process. We want to have an understanding or an idea of what goes into the evaluation process.
Thank you. So having been using the link to get to us, there's a short form that they need to complete. Within that form, we will know the institution, their contacts. So we use their contacts to tell them the next steps, which are to complete the questionnaire. That is why I've given you the links to the questionnaire, and also our viewers to access those links and study the questionnaire, which they can use even after the evaluation, and even those which are not yet ready for the institutional evaluation. So from there, they move on to complete the questionnaire. But for them to be able to effectively complete the questionnaire, they need some documents. They need to initially form an AQRM committee. But that committee, what is very important is that they should have many people with institutional memory and a representation of all the people who make up the university community, deans, students, lecturers, students, some managers, and not all. It should really be diverse and a representation of everyone who makes the university community.
Doc, what exactly would this committee be doing?
So they will take evidence from documents, from faculties, from service departments on what is being done, so that they complete that questionnaire. Because we do the evaluation at 2 levels. The institution as a whole, and then we ask them to choose 2 or 3 programs which they think are the best programs and rank them according to the best of the best, then the others. So we will also check. After that, we agree on a date where they want us to visit them. So the 2 experts will visit them, and they will do an inspection of the institution, interview students separately, lecturers separately, management separately, support staff of the different departments, also separately, technicians, secretaries, everybody separately, and then they re-rate them. Because when they complete, there's a column where they are rating themselves and how they perform. But can I quickly hasten to say that at times they may give themselves, for example, a rating of 1 on community engagement. 1, it means it's the list. It's the rating is 1 to 4. 4 is the best, and then 1 we say at least there's something going on. We don't have a 0. And so when they do that, when we do these interviews and go through the institution to move around and check the infrastructure, you may realize that maybe on community engagement, if they had scored themselves a 1, they would end up with a 3 or a 4. Or in some instances too, they may have scored themselves a 3 and we drop it to a 2 or to a 1, depending on the evidence that we get. And so after that, before the experts leave, they give them an overview, an oral presentation of the overview impression that they've got of the institution. And later on, within 2 weeks, they write a comprehensive report which they sent to AAU, and we send it back to the institution just for facts, verification of facts, not the actual rating and things. So we are asking also to get the strengths of the institution, its weaknesses and points of improvement, so that we can give recommendations. At the end of it all, recommendations are given. But the institution that has been evaluated will be given a certificate. But remember, I said again and again, this is an internal improvement tool for the institution. And it's not a ranking tool. It prepares them for ranking if they want. And so far we have a number of those institutions which have now gone to compete in the rankings and have done very well. It helps them to prepare for the cyclic 5-year re-accreditation and maybe new accreditation of programs.
Doc, still on the tool, I think it would be good for us to know some of the issues based on which the process is trying to do the evaluation on. For instance, I think in your delivery, in your submission, you've already made mention of infrastructure. You also mentioned community engagement. What are some of the key issues that the process would be undertaking the evaluation on? If you can briefly tell us some.
Thank you, Felicia. So we have like governance. So governance would be a key heading. Under governance, we are checking gender balance. This is a very hot issue and a key issue. You know, internationally, United Nations is checking on us. We had a millennium goal on that. So it's there. And also, we have policies and things. So we are moving like that. And then we have teaching and learning. You raised the issue of curricular review. We are scoring them on how conscious are they about the need to do curricular review to design new courses that are a response to societal problems, so that universities are not continuously labeled as ivory towers. We look at research and the quality of research. We look at grants. How far are they attracting grants and funding for their institution? Internationalization, foreign students, what are they doing in order to increase foreign students? And university industry linkages, it's a key component where we have researches that are being piled in the institutions with nobody who is taking them to industry. Apparently industry too is not moving to institutions. So we as the Association of African Universities is trying to say, universities, you can still approach the industry. Nobody has been said you approach first. This is the problem that we have. Quality starts with you. And if you do your part, small or big, later on it will do snowballing. So people are waiting to say somebody is going to do it. And why are you not doing your own part, small as it is? That's how it goes. All
right, viewers, we are still on the AAU Talks, and I'm hosting Dr. Violet Makuku here. We are discussing the important issue of quality and quality assurance. And for some few minutes now, we've been discussing the African Quality Rating Mechanism. Dr. Makuku has made us understand that this is a tool developed by the African Union and other partners, of course, including the AAU. And then the purpose of this tool is mainly for an internal check-in, sort of, for the universities to ensure that internally, in terms of everything they are doing, they are adhering to some standard which is good in terms of quality and which can meet international standards. So, Doc, just before the break, I think we've been discussing things on quality and all of that. Now we want to know if an institution wants to participate in the process, how can they start, or where do they start from?
They start from clicking the link, the third link, because the first two links are to lead them to where to find the questionnaire. So when they go to that link...
before we continue,
yes.
Generally, where are these links? On which organization's website can we find these links?
It's the African Union Commission, but now the African Union Commission is transferred the bank
power,
where when they apply, the information will fall into the database to the Association of African Universities. And we are busy working to make sure that everything that has been done before is well kept, and the new moves also, the new evaluations and questionnaires that are being completed, they will be submitted online, and they will also be submitted through an email.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, let's say I've managed to be able to click on the links. What follows afterwards? What
follows is completing a short form.
Okay.
We continuously check the institutions that are showing interest, and we write to them to say they need to make a payment that will enable us to manage the process and also to pay the experts. Remember, I talked about the experts. And to make life easier for them and to reduce costs, you know, there are some institutions which have got guest houses. So we say they can provide accommodation for the experts, and that's cutting costs other than putting them in a hotel. And also for the air tickets, we say they can purchase the tickets because sometimes if they give us the money, we are dealing with the estimate, which sometimes may be a little bit
lower
up or lower.
And
so you don't want to go back to the institutions to say, just add us some money. So if we get the estimate, we normally put something else to check so that we are not found wanting.
And just before we end, can you tell us how long this process takes?
The completion of the questionnaire, we can give up to 2 weeks or an extension up to 3 weeks or 1 month because they need to take documents and pieces of evidence. And whilst they are using them to complete the questionnaire, they are also arranging them in a chronological order and putting them, shelving them in a cabinet for the experts to come and use. And sometimes there's need for them to have short meetings on completing. Remember, I said they would need a committee. And all that is very demanding. So we give them that time, but we don't normally exceed a month.
All right, Doc. So I'll give you the next 1 minute to talk to our viewers on what you want them to know about the QRM.
Thank you, Felicia. This is precious to me because I just want to say to the higher education community of Africa, please, when initiatives come, don't doubt them. Take them head on and start implementing. We are here to give you the support that you need, from information to whatever other support. But I want to urge you to say, when you remain where you are and you are not proactive and you are not absorbing what is coming, you become obsolete. And the students are now very conscious about the quality assurance subject, and they are checking on institutions that are doing very well. Don't be surprised then if you become obsolete. It means that your student numbers become to go down. Do your research as to why your student numbers are going down. And at the center of it are quality issues in different dimensions. And for those who are moving to build the quality culture, which I'm also urging all of you to try and inculcate so that it becomes part and parcel of the daily running of the institution, it would be very good and very beneficial to your institution. You see student numbers, you also see your institution being referred to, and it brings institutional visibility. The more you have institutional visibility, the more you are known, the more you do well, the more people want to partner with you. I thank you, Felicia, for the time given.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. You become obsolete when you shy away from quality and quality assurance issues,
yes,
says Dr. Makuku.
Thank you.
We are very glad to have hosted you here today.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, this brings us to the end of this show. It's been the AAU Talks on the AAU TV, and we've discussed African quality rating mechanism and quality assurance, as well as the overall issue of quality in African higher education institutions. This is the AAU TV. Do stay tuned.